Namaste. In today's video, I'll talk about the various grandis or psychic nerves which are present in our subtle body. The three most important psychic nerves are the Bramhagranthi, the Vishnugranthi, and the Rudra. Apart from this, we have other psychic knots also. So I'll be talking about these three psychic knots in detail in today's video. Each one of us are a drop of the universal consciousness. We each are the individual consciousness. Everybody is an expression of that huge universal consciousness. Once we separate from the source, we take on many layers. That is, if you look at the picture here, you can see the central Om written in the circles. The Om is where your Jivatma or your individual essence resides. Upon this, you have many different layers that get formed because this individual consciousness wants to play the game of life. In this picture here, you can see Om written in the center. That is where your essence resides. Around that, you will see Anandamaya Kosha, the bliss sheath. Then comes Vijnanamaya Kosha, which is the intellectual sheath. Then the Manomaya Kosha, which is your mental sheath. Then Pranamaya Kosha, which is your pranic sheath. This is where you experience the prana flowing or the chi flowing. Then the Annamaya Kosha, which is the physical sheath. Chakras, the Kundalini, the pranic flows, whatever you experience in your life during your meditative states or other spiritually heightened states, there are activities that are happening in the Pranamaya Kosha or the pranic sheath. When a person is born, he takes on the Pranamaya Kosha and Annamaya Kosha additionally as attachments over the mental sheath so that he or she can experience the earth's life. When a person passes away or moves away from the earthly existence, he drops away the pranic sheath and the physical sheath. Dropping away of the pranic sheath and the physical sheath is called death. Then this soul, it moves to the astral realm where it awaits its next time of birth. And once again, when it is born on earth, it takes on the pranic sheath and the physical sheath so that the soul can experience the earthly existence. The Kundalini ties the pranic sheath and the physical sheath to the other sheaths through the psychic knots. If you take few pages together and you want to put them together, you will tie knots maybe at the top and at the bottom of the sheets so that they stay together. In the same way, Kundalini ties these knots. So while it is coming down, it ties various knots at various levels, and most importantly, it ties the three most important psychic knots, that is the Bramhagranthi, Vishnugranthi, and the Rudra. Rudra is here in the Aagna chakra. The Vishnugranthi is beneath the heart region, and the Bramhagranthi is in the base chakra. So it ties these three knots so that the pranic flow does not reverse and flow up. If the pranic flow reverses and flows upwards, then the person cannot play the game of life. That is, now this person will become eligible for spiritual evolution. These knots should be tied well, and these knots get tied well when a person has a good birth and a good upbringing as a child. These psychic knots are well established. Because of that, the person grows up to be a physically, mentally fit person who's capable of facing the external physical situations. In certain cases where there is trauma attached with childbirth or with the growing period of the child, then the psychic knots may not be very correctly tied, because of which the person may experience a lot of emotional problems, and they turn towards spiritual healing to sort out these problems. As long as these psychic knots are in place, the person lives his life thinking that he is this body, and the external physical reality is only reality. He thinks his name is his real name. He identifies with his qualifications, with his work, with his family, with his friends, his religion, his opinions, his various other systems he is attached to. He lives a complete life thinking that this reality is the reality, and he does not even think of other possibilities, or he does not even understand that life can exist even beyond this reality. He searches for all his answers within this physical realm itself. Over many lifetimes, when the soul is tired of playing the game of life, or it has learned its lessons, or there is no more need to take any lifetimes because it has matured due to a spontaneous awakening, or maybe due to certain efforts, the Kundalini Shakti will wake up. When Kundalini wakes up, she starts the return process. The return journey now starts for the being. That is, now this being will move inwards from the physical sheath into the inner sheath where his individual essence resides. That is, a Jivatma resides. Right now, the consciousness of a person is at the base of his spine. Now, this consciousness, once it wakes up, it starts moving up the spine. It starts encountering these grandis or these psychic knots on the path up. It starts opening up these psychic knots. It starts ascending through the spine. And when it is ascending to the spine, the person starts changing because the psychic knots are removed. So slowly, the other aspects of the reality get revealed to him. As this Kundalini is ascending the spine, the person now has access to information, to experiences which are beyond the physical domain. So now his perception about this reality, perception about himself, the world around, everything starts changing drastically, maybe in one lifetime. He starts getting exposed to the other realms that are there, the other possibilities that are there in the universe. And he even develops the ability to understand higher concepts. In a normal person, only 3 to 4% of the brain is utilized. The remaining brain is in dark. We do not know what is there in it. At least the conscious mind does not know. The reason for it is, when Kundalini is moving down before creation of this body into the Muladhara chakra, it creates this psychic knots along the spine. It then goes down into the Muladhara and it coils up as 3.5 coils, and it goes to sleep. When it is sleeping, 97% of your potential is sleeping at the base of your spine. So you're only using about 3 to 4% of your potential. When Kundalini Shakti wakes up, it uncoils. Now, because it has to flow upwards, whatever knots it has put, it has to now pierce and open those knots. As Kundalini Shakti is rising up your spine, You are now able to access more centers in your brain because the uncoiling of Kundalini and of moving up the chakra and activating your brain centers, now your brain will be working 100%. Now, because your brain is working 100%, you are connected with every aspect of this universe. Information gets downloaded into your head. You are able to access many different psychic abilities. So your consciousness expands once Kundalini Shakti starts rising up your spine. You are able to use 100% of your capabilities. This is the organization of your Agya Chakra. The Agya Chakra is present in the third eye region. This is the Agya Chakra. The Agya Chakra, the dot on top of it is called the Bindu. Bindu means the dot. This Bindu here is the 0 point. This is the Bindu from which the creation emanates for you. This Bindu is the threshold. When you cross over this Bindu, you go beyond time and space. So, as long as you're on the inside of the Bindu, you are experiencing time and space. So, when Kundalini comes down from here through the spine, it comes down into the lower realms. That is, it creates these many different chakra points on the spine. It comes down to the Muladhara and it ties the last knot, that is the Bramhagranthi at the Muladhara chakra, and then it sleeps at the base. These are the positions of the various grandis in our body. The Rudra Granthi is present in the Agya chakra itself. The Vishnugranthi is there beneath the Anahata chakra or the heart chakra. The Bramhagranthi is at the Muladhara chakra. At these chakra points, you have the Shivalinga present, and you have the serpent sitting over the Shivalinga like this. When this piercing of Granthis happened to me, wherever these Granthi points were, I could see the Shivalinga. In the Muladhara, you have the Swayambhulinga. At the Vishnugranthi region, you have the Banalinga, and at the Agya chakra, that is in the Agya chakra, you have the Ittaralinga. So when your third eye opens and when you can see how the Kundalini is moving through your subtle system, you will see these images in your third eye. I saw these as black and white images, and the cobra which you see around the linga, I saw it moving, hood playing around. So these three are visible at these 3 points. My Kundalini awakened in 2011. The prana started flowing into the Pingala Nadi. I experienced pranatana. Then it flowed through the Ida Nadi. Then it flowed into the central Sushumna Nadi, and I saw the 3.5 coiled snake in my third eye. This happened in 2011 December. In 2013, my Kundalini Shakti rose up and it pierced through the Bramhagranthi. This is the first knot the Kundalini Shakti encounters once it is trying to move out of the Muladhara chakra. The Brahmagranthi knot piercing experience for me was painful. It felt like the child birthing experience. That is how I experienced it, and the pain of that lasted for about 30 to 40 minutes. That's all. Then my Brahma Granthi was pierced and Kundalini Shakti moved up into the chakras which are above the Brahma Granthi. When Kundalini was piercing through the Brahma Granthi, here I could see the Swayambhulinga. But before the piercing of Brahma Granthi, when the Muladhara chakra is activating, I was experiencing a lot of unexplainable fear. There was no reason to be frightened. There was nothing I had to fear. But just sitting in my chair, I was going into intense fearful states for no reason. There is no sensible explanation for that kind of fear coming out of me. Later on, I understood that the Muladhara and its stores are fear. And when this chakra is getting activated, the stored fear is getting released from it. And that is what I was experiencing and releasing. Other experiences here was I saw Ganesha and then I saw the elephant or the Airavat that is there in the Muladhara chakra. Next comes the Vishnugranthi. The Vishnugranthi, I sort of experienced it like an elastic band. Say, for example, you get an elastic band and you start stretching it, but it does not stretch, it is tight. You keep on pulling it apart. The more you start stretching it, the more loosened it gets. It loosens up slowly over a period of time. And then slowly it is wide enough for the Kundalini Shakti to pass through. So Vishnu Granthi is something like that. Vishnu knot is beneath the Anahata Chakra. And when I was experiencing the piercing of the Vishnu Granthi, my stomach and my back would come back together like this. Very close. This is a kind of bandha so that or a kind of lock, so that the energy that is moving up does not come down. Enough force is put beneath the rising prana to push it upwards and penetrate to the Vishnu Granthi. So this was the kriya I was experiencing when my Vishnu Granthi was getting pierced. And I experienced a lot of pain in my back over a period of time because of this activity where my Vishnu Granthi was slowly getting pierced. As I said earlier, it is elastic and it is difficult to pierce, so it has to be pierced over a period of time. It's like stretching a band over a period of time so that it loosens up. It is something like that. Once it opens up the Vishnugranthi, it then enters into the Anahata Chakra. I read in many books and I've heard people talk about different nadas, Anahata nadas, or different sound experiences that one encounters when Kundalini Shakti is in the Anahata Chakra. That is, they can hear the flute, a divine flute, or they can hear the call of peacocks, or they can hear the roar of a waterfall. In my case, I did not hear any of these things. I was surprised and I was a little worried, thinking that maybe my process was not moving in the right direction. But then later on, I understood why I did not hear all these in my experience. In this picture here, you can see the Sushumna Nadi within the spine. It is inside the spine. And the Kundalini Shakti is moving inside the spine. The various chakras are located inside the spine. The Vishnugranthi, Bramhagranthi, they are within the spine. So Kundalini Shakti is moving up the spine, and when it is piercing the Vishnugranthi and moving up, it is still in the spine. So the various sounds that are associated with the piercing of Anahata Chakra is a wrong understanding, because people get confused between the awakening of the heart and the opening of the Anahata Chakra. Awakening of a heart happens much later. So the earlier sounds I spoke about, that is, you hear the divine flute, or you feel a lot of pranic energy moving through the heart region, or the call of a peacock, or the thunderous roar of a waterfall. All these experiences happen when the heart is awakening. But right now, Kundalini Shakti is passing through the spine, and Anahata Chakra is inside the spine. So when it is moving through the spine, you will not have these experiences. Look at the distance between the heart and the spine. These experiences happen much later when Kundalini Shakti comes and resides up here in the upper Aagya chakra. Sitting there, it opens up many different knots that are present around the heart area. And when these knots get pierced, then you will experience heart awakening, which happens much later to the Anahata chakra activation. So these are two different things. Many who have not experienced the process, they think that these two activities, that is the activation of the Anahata chakra and the awakening of the heart, happens simultaneously. It does not happen that way. Heart awakening happens much later in the process. First, what happens is the Anahata chakra is opening up. Next comes the Rudra grandi, which is there in the Aagya chakra here. In this picture, in the second image, you can see the linga inside the chakra. Aagya chakra consists of two parts, the lower part and the upper part. The lower and upper part are divided by the Itara linga. So to access the upper part, you have to move through the linga. That is, say this is the linga, you have to pierce through it to move into the upper part. The Itara linga is a diamond studded. It is very hard to open this linga. And this linga looks magnificent in your third eye. When you see it, it's totally diamond studded, and the way it glows, the light that comes from it, it looks absolutely fabulous. The Kundalini Shakti tries to pierce through this Shivlinga and move up, but this linga is made up of diamonds. The cap is made up of diamonds. We all are aware that diamond is a very hard material. It is the most difficult material to cut through. It is the same with the Itara linga. It is the most difficult grandi to pierce. This linga cannot be pierced through the individual efforts. You will need the grace of a guru or the grace of the Divine Mother or the Kundalini goddess to help you pierce this Itara linga. A lot of pranic energy is required to push through and move up this Itara linga. That is why during the awakening process, steady spiritual practices are very important. Once Kundalini Shakti breaks through the diamond capped Itara linga, it moves up into the upper Aagya chakra. That is where you have the crescent shape Visarga, and then you have the Bindu. So once it has reached here, it is now at the threshold of moving beyond time and space. So till here, you were within the framework of time and space. And as long as you have not pierced the Itara linga, you are within the framework of your mind or personality. When you are breaking through the Itara linga, you are piercing the wheel of mind. Any person, no matter what spiritual practices he undertakes, no matter what kind of samadhi states he attains, he is still working within the framework of his mind. He has not escaped the mind or pierced through the mind or gone beyond the mind. All spiritual practices aim at piercing the mind. When you're piercing this Itara linga, you are going beyond the framework of your mind. Now the mind cannot control you. You are controlling your mind. And once you cross the Bindu that is there in the Aagya chakra, you are going beyond time and space. So Samadhi states start from this point up, that is from the Bindu up, you start experiencing various levels of Samadhi. This picture shows you the various lingas present as various points in your subtle body system. The Swayambhu linga, which is at the Mooladhara chakra, the Bana linga, which is there located beneath the Anahata chakra, and then the Itara linga, which is located at the Aagya chakra. I said that grandis are psychic knots. So how you experience various emotions, how you identify yourselves with the various things that happen in your life, all these have an effect on your grandis or knots. When somebody is living from the fight and flight mechanism, that is, that they do something to avoid pain or to gain something, if that is how they live their life, and they do not live their life from higher values or from a higher purpose, it is very difficult for them to reverse their energy and pierce the Brahmagranthi. So some person who is very identified with his name, his religion, his political affiliations, his money, his status, his family, his friends. He is worried about losing things, and he always wants to gain things. He's very materialistic. He never questions life. Such kind of a person, the Brahma Grandi is very tightly found. And as long as this person is like this, it is difficult to open up the Brahma Grandi. It is only when a person makes a shift, when he chooses to live more consciously and he shifts away from these practices which find their root in the fears or in the desires which are very basic in nature, and he prefers to live from higher values. He's searching for truth. When a person gets into this mode and he starts disidentifying with a lot of things that he was once associated with, for example, now he distances himself with the fame that he has. He develops a detachment for the material things he has. He does not identify himself with his failures or with his successes. He stays away from mainstream religious ideas which are rooted in fear. He prefers to live his life calm, without any drama, keeping unnecessary situations or unnecessary people out of his life. And he's more focused on changing himself and making his inner world better. That is when he starts making this shift, making conscious choices, and he's living a life which is true to what he believes. That is when he makes the shift, then it gets easier for the Brahma Grandi or this Brahma psychic knot to open up. Otherwise, it is difficult to open up this psychic knot. When it comes to Vishnugranthi, what affects the Vishnugranthi is how a person responds to power or how he uses power. Does he misuse power the moment he has power? Or does he surrender to power very easily out of fear? Are you balanced when you have power? Or are you balanced when you are powerless in a situation? So, this inner balance, when it comes to power, and even when you are capable of feeling love and happiness for others' success without feeling any envy for the success others taste, rather you celebrate their success wholeheartedly. You see your growth in others' growth. You feel genuinely happy when somebody does good in life. You feel love for all beings. Your ability to love goes beyond the boundaries of your family and friend. You can love a lot of things in this world. You can love the plants, the trees, nature, many different things, activities. So when you are more in love with life, with people, when you feel worthy of that same love in return, it is easier to push through the Vishnugranthi knot. Next comes the Rudra Granthi. What keeps this Rudra Granthi tightly tied up is your attachment to I. You need to move away from this identity with the physical body and your mind. A distance has to come. If you cannot distance yourself from your ideas or your physical identity, then it is difficult to open the Rudra Granthi. So here you are making a transition from I to we. So apart from that, when Kundalini Shakti reaches this area, certain psychic abilities are developed by the person. The person gains access to certain information which is mystical in nature, which a normal person cannot access. He is able to read very difficult scriptures. He can understand the essence of the scriptures, and he can very articulately tell others about these things. This can lead to arrogance and the sense that I am intelligent, I am capable, I have the power to download certain information, or I have the power to understand very difficult spiritual information. This kind of ego becomes a hindrance when Kundalini Shakti is trying to pierce the Rudra Granthi. So when you get this information, are you humble in receiving this information? Or is this information making you arrogant? If you are humble, then piercing the Rudra Granthi becomes easy. That is because you're not identifying yourself as the holder of the knowledge or the doer of things here. Rather, you see yourself as an instrument. When you see yourself as an instrument, then the I does not exist there. You are just a mere conduit through which information is flowing through. When you have this kind of an attitude, it is easier to pierce the Rudra Granthi. Once Rudra Granthi is pierced and you move beyond Rudra Granthi, it simply means that you're piercing the wheel of mind and you move beyond mind. Once you are beyond mind, you have more control over your emotions, your thoughts. You have more choices when it comes to how you want to think. You can see through your own flaws, your own loops, how you create certain behavioral loops. You understand yourself better and you navigate your emotions and your thoughts more intelligently. Now you are in total control of your thoughts and emotions because you have come out of your mind. Until the Rudra Granthi is pierced, the person is servant of his mind. He cannot control the mind. The mind controls him. Once Rudra Granthi is pierced, he controls his mind. Now he is the Lord. So the consciousness now has reached the upper Aagna chakra and it resides here in the upper Aagna chakra. When you pierce the wheel of mind, it comes as a shock to your physical body. Generally, people take 4 to 6 weeks to recover from this shock. In my case, I had a minor blast inside my head when the Rudra Granthi was being pierced. It seems in rare cases a blast happens, and the blast happens when you have a lot of good karma. But then to recover from this blast is another big task. I took many months to recover from that incident, nearly a year to recover and become normal. Apart from the main 3 grandis, you even have other minor grandis in your heart region. These grandis are much easier to pierce when compared to that in the spine region. When the grandis in the heart region are being pierced, it feels like a pin is piercing balloons. You get that kind of feeling. I had my first piercing in the heart happening at the bottom of my heart. So something pierced up like that. And immediately, huge amount of prana flowed into my heart. The prana started opening up my heart area. This is called heart awakening. And slowly, a few days later, I was experiencing few more knots opening up within my heart. your essence or the Jivatma resides 2 digits right. You take the central region and put 2 digits right, that is where your essence resides. Even to reach there, there is a psychic knot that will also be pierced. Once that psychic knot is pierced, the pranic force can reach that area also. Apart from that, I even experienced a psychic knot in this region behind the neck. When that psychic knot got pierced, huge amount of pranic flow. I had already energy moving up into my brain, but when this psychic knot got opened, huge amount of energy was flowing into my brain. And there was one more thing that I experienced is every person has a little amount of self-hatred. That is, your self-hatred can manifest in the way that you are putting yourself down. You think you're not worthy of things, or you are recalling instances or events which have angered you or pained you. So all these things, they keep coming into your memory and you are constantly triggering yourself, you are paining yourself. I think each one of us has this capability. When the psychic knot in the neck here, it gets pierced, you come out of this. You outgrow this. You do not experience ideas, thoughts, or memories which are self-sabotaging. And you have more control on such kind of thoughts. When we are experiencing pranic flow in our body, we can use breathing practices to control and direct these flows through our Ida and Pingala Nadi. In the top picture, you can see the Ida and Pingala Nadi flowing in our spine region. Alternate nostril breathing helps to control the flow or make the flow stronger in Ida and Pingala Nadi. This is even called as pranayama. So you have many different types of pranayama. Pranayama should be always learned from a guru, and under the guidance of guru it should be done, because the effects of breath is very profound on the pranic system. Hence you should be careful so that you do not guide the pranas in the wrong direction. A simple nostril breathing activity is where we use these two fingers, that is the thumb and the ring finger of your right hand, and you hold your nose. You close your right nostril with the thumb gently and you breathe deeply through the left nostril. Now you hold your breath. You then use this ring finger to close your left nostril, and then you release the air through your right nostril. Then you breathe air through your right nostril. Then you close your right nostril with the thumb, and then you release the left nostril, and then you release the air or you exhale through your left nostril. This is the technique that is used, very simple. You have other techniques also, but this is very simple and this can be done by anybody. You can increase the length of your inhalation and exhalation depending upon your convenience, but the longer it is, the better it is. You can do this 24 times in a day, where you are breathing to one side of the nose or one nostril and you're releasing the exhalation from the other nostril. This helps you to balance the flow in the Ida and Pingala Nadi. Apart from that, there are certain bandhas. When somebody has a Kundalini awakening which is spontaneous, these bandhas automatically happen in their body. In my case, these bandhas were happening automatically. When my various grandis were getting pierced. But when the prana is flowing in the spine, you can help the prana by putting pressure underneath it to rise up further in the spine. This is what bandha are used for. The Mula Bandha, you lock your perineum, the perineal muscles, you hold them very tight. You're holding these perineal muscles very tight. The prana which has entered the Sushumna now is forced to move upwards towards the Vishnugranthi or towards the upper chakra. Next comes the Uddiyana Bandha. In Uddiyana Bandha, you are bringing your stomach and back together very close. You have to exhale first and then you have to do this. When they come very close, you're putting in pressure on the prana to rise up and to pierce through the Vishnugranthi. Then comes the Jalandhara Bandha. In Jalandhara Bandha, what happens is you leave your neck muscles loose, keep your spine straight, and then you bend your head forwards so that your chin touches here, that is like this. And you hold yourself in that position after exhaling. When you do this, the prana that is moving upwards in your spine towards your Aagna chakra, it gets locked in that area and it tries to push up further. So bandhas are just locks. These bandhas should be done correctly, and how you breathe, how you stand, how you maintain a posture, they should be learned from somebody who is teaching them professionally. So when you are practicing alternate nostril breathing along with these various bandhas, you are not only balancing the flow of energy in Ida and Pingala, you are even supporting the rise of the prana in the central Sushumna channel. That is, the prana is forced to move upwards within the spinal area. I spoke about the various psychic knots that are present in our body. These psychic knots are influenced by the thoughts, by the emotions, by the various behaviors we adopt. You are either tightening up the knot or you are loosening this knot. So when you move away from living a very selfish life, a very contracted life, to a more expanded state of living, these psychic knots, they start getting loosened up. And when they get loosened up, it is easier for the Kundalini Shakti to pierce these knots and move upwards. Until these knots are pierced, Kundalini Shakti cannot reach up into the upper brain centers, and further spiritual advancement cannot happen. Namaste.